How's it going, guys? So, coming up on the undercard of the Canelo Alvarez-Liam Smith fight, we have a pretty interesting fight in the middleweight division between Willie Monroe Jr. and Gabriel Rosado. Now, this is an interesting fight to me. Both of these guys are decent middleweight contenders. You know, they're both very different styles. Now, let's talk about Willie Monroe Jr. first. Willie Monroe Jr. is a very slick boxer. He's a slick southpaw. He's fast. He moves his head. He can bend his waist in the pocket. He's very good at riding with punches, taking away his opponent's jab and countering. He's a very good counter puncher, Willie Monroe Jr. Very underrated in my opinion. Uh, he was stopped in 6 rounds by Gennady Golovkin. However, if you watch that fight, you'll see that Willie Monroe Jr. did actually give a very good account of himself. He was able to land consecutive punches on Gennady Golovkin. He did mark Golovkin up a little bit, and you know Golovkin, he didn't have it all his own way. So yeah, he did give a good account of himself. He just wasn't good enough ultimately to win the fight. So in the 6th round, when he got knocked down for the last time, he told the referee, "I'm done." You know, he knew that he couldn't win the fight. There was no point in taking any more punishment than he had to take. You know, he tried his best, and his best wasn't good enough. But you know, since that, he has had another fight. He fought John Thompson. Now, I actually went to see John Thompson fight live once. It was when he fought Liam Smith at the Manchester Arena. And John Thompson, he got walked down in that fight and he got destroyed. However, he did have some success on the outside against Liam Smith. He actually did show some pretty slick skills on the outside. He had a good jab. He was boxing well. It's just that Liam Smith was too strong for him, and Liam Smith ended up wearing him down to the body and ended up breaking him down. Now, John Thompson against Willie Monroe Jr. was different. Willie Monroe Jr. fought him from the outside. He outboxed him and he completely schooled him. You know, it was a pretty easy fight for Willie Monroe. He boxed very well in the fight. One thing that was quite impressive to me was Willie Monroe Jr. would make his opponent reach. He would make him overextend. And then he would counter with a little right hook to the body on the inside. And I just think that Willie Monroe Jr., there's some little subtleties with the guy that really impress me. I think he is a very intelligent boxer. Okay, the guy has got a lot of skills. I know that because he lost to Gennady Golovkin, everybody's calling him a bum because you know people, the detractors of Gennady Golovkin, they just want to call everybody that he beats a bum. But you know, Willie Monroe Jr. ain't no bum. Okay, the guy's a very skilled boxer. He's very smart, very intelligent, and very underrated in my opinion. I mean, he also beat Brian Vera. He defeated Brandon Adams, who was undefeated in 14 fights. His only other defeat was against Darnell Boone. That was a while ago, a few years ago. He lost a very close split decision. But that's Darnell Boone. Okay, Darnell Boone, anybody that knows Darnell Boone, has followed his career, knows that the guy is extremely dangerous. Okay, he might be a journeyman, but he has knocked down and beaten many world-class fighters. He knocked out Adonis Stevenson. He took away Adonis Stevenson's undefeated record. He put Sergey Kovalev on the canvas and went the distance. He put Andre Ward on the canvas and went the distance. So that guy, you know, losing to Darnell Boone, I really wouldn't think much of it. Okay, anybody on an off night could lose to Darnell Boone. He's a very dangerous fighter. So yeah, let's talk about Gabriel Rosado. Now, Gabriel Rosado, he's a guy who, if you were to look at his record, you would probably think that the guy was a journeyman because he has 9 losses. 4 of them were by knockout. And you know, he just, if you look at his face after a lot of his fights, you know, he marks up pretty easily and he always takes a beating in every fight. It's just, he's one of those guys who just tends to get hit more often than others. Now, thing about Gabriel Rosado, I actually do think the guy has skills. I think he can box a little bit. It's just that he's one of these guys who has that macho kind of attitude where he always wants to prove how tough he is, and he always somehow gets dragged into a fight. Like, for example, he fought David Lemieux, and he was actually able to have some success in spots against David Lemieux. He was landing punches, but David Lemieux's come forward aggressive style, you know, he's goading him, trying to drag him into a fight, and it worked. It worked perfectly. You know, he dragged the taller man into a fight and just beat the crap out of him, and eventually forced a stoppage in the 10th round. And you know, Rosado, just based on the punishment he took and based on his own willingness to brawl and just stand toe to toe, he ended up losing that fight by stoppage. He also was stopped by Peter Quillin. And he did give Peter Quillin certain problems, but ultimately it just wasn't enough. You know, Peter Quillin just his hand speed was too much and his volume was too much, and he ended up just stopping Rosado late. He also he of course fought Gennady Golovkin too, which was basically the fight that made him well known. He fought Gennady Golovkin, and he showed tons of heart in the fight, but he got his face smashed in. I mean, if you look at Gabriel Rosado's face after that fight, he got seriously fucked up in that fight. I mean, Gennady just beat the absolute crap out of him to the point where after the fight, Gabriel Rosado and his team were claiming that Gennady Golovkin loaded his gloves because of the punishment that Rosado had taken on his face, which is of course nonsense. We know that didn't happen. It's just that, you know, he was too proud for his own good and he was trying to find a excuse for why he lost the fight. Now, Rosado, who else did Rosado lose to? I believe he got stopped by Alfredo Angulo, but that was a while ago. That was, I think, back in 2009. I haven't actually seen that fight. I'll maybe look it up. But yeah, that was, I believe, at 154. Now, judging this fight on paper, you would have to make Willie Monroe Jr. the favourite because he's the much fresher of the two. Now, Gabriel Rosado has, because he's just been in so many tough fights, he's taken so much punishment, he's had his face smashed in over and over, he's been stopped multiple times. You would have to make Willie Monroe Jr. the favourite. However, Gabriel Rosado's last couple of fights, he has actually looked quite good. You know, he seems to have improved his technique a little bit. I was quite surprised that he was able to outbox Joshua Clottey because Joshua Clottey is a very good fighter, and I mean I watched Joshua Clottey a couple of years ago when he fought Anthony Mundine. He came back after a long layoff and fought Anthony Mundine, and he absolutely whooped the shit out of Anthony Mundine. Had him on the canvas 5 times and just totally dominated every round. So I was expecting Joshua Clottey to be a pretty interesting addition to the 154 and 160 divisions. And I was quite surprised that Rosado beat him, to be honest, especially after Rosado was coming off, I think, 3 losses in a row going into that fight. Or was it 4 losses in a row? I think it was 4 losses in a row going into that fight, and 3 of them were by stoppage. So I was expecting Joshua Clottey to actually beat Rosado. And Rosado surprised me. He actually was able to outbox Joshua Clottey. So yeah, that's good. And then he outboxed a guy called Antonio Gutierrez. I haven't seen that fight, but he won that fight by unanimous decision. That guy was 20-1. So, you know, clearly Gabriel Rosado is back in the mix. You know, he's not done just yet. He still does have some energy left. He wanted to fight Billy Joe Saunders, so clearly this guy still has a lot of ambition. Obviously, Billy Joe Saunders didn't want the fight. Billy Joe Saunders, I don't know what he's playing at right now. He just doesn't seem to want to fight anybody. He's just sitting about with that belt in his caravan doing nothing, doing absolutely nothing, ducking everybody. So yeah, and talking shit in the process. So, you know, I just think that, you know, Billy Joe Saunders, the dude should be stripped of his title. I've got a video up talking about that. You know, while that guy's sitting about criticizing everybody in interviews, while dodging everybody. I mean, he had a chance to be on this undercard against Rosado, and it would have been good exposure for him, but he turned it down. But whatever, it is what it is. This is a good fight, though. I like this fight, and like I said, you have to make Willie Monroe Jr. the favorite. Do I think Willie Monroe Jr. is gonna win though? I've had to think about it. You know, I didn't really, you know, when I heard that the fight was signed, I didn't really know. You know, I was gonna wait until a little bit further down the line to make this video, but I thought, you know what, whatever, I'll just make it today. I'm gonna go with Willie Monroe Jr. I have to, you know, even though I'm kind of thinking I've got a slight feeling that Rosado might surprise me again. I just think that Willie Monroe Jr., just based on the eye test, he has much better boxing skills to me. He has much better defense. He's faster. Has a very good jab too, Willie Monroe Jr. I was quite impressed with his jab in the last fight. He can box well. He's got a very fast right jab, and it's very accurate. So I can see that jab being a problem for Rosado. I can see Willie Monroe Jr. taking away Rosado's jab because Willie Monroe Jr. seems to know how to use the southpaw stance to negate an orthodox jab. Willie Monroe, he throws them little nice hooks to the body inside when he ducks low. He also has a decent straight left. He's a good counter puncher. Again, I've said he can bend at the waist, something I don't think that Rosado can do. Even though Rosado can box, he doesn't seem to be very elusive to me. And that's evident by how many times the guy has been stopped. So I think I'm gonna go with Willie Monroe Jr. by a wide unanimous decision. I'm gonna go with him on points. I don't think he's gonna stop Rosado because Rosado's tough. He has been stopped before, but he is tough because the only guys that have stopped him have been pretty heavy-handed fighters like Golovkin and Lemieux and Quillin and Angulo. All of those guys punch a heck of a lot harder than Monroe Jr. in my opinion. So I'm going to go with Monroe Jr. on points. I think he's going to outbox Rosado. I think he's going to do it pretty easily, to be honest. But you never know. I could be wrong. I thought the same about Clottey. So, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. I'm going with Monroe Jr. on points. Thanks for watching.